Well, here in France, police have clashed with protesters in the centre of Paris after one of the biggest general strikes in decades. Public transport ground to a halt, schools were closed and hospitals were disrupted as unions marched onto the streets. Well, they're calling on President Emmanuel Macron to scrap planned reforms to the pension system. Neil O'Reilly has the story.
It's an age-old problem in France, one that has brought down previous governments through protests like these. President Macron is determined to push through his pension reforms. Unions are equally determined to resist.
The government's been trying to stigmatize those they call privileged. The answer to them is on the streets. The private and public sectors are here. Retirees are here. Youth are here. We're all affected by this bad proposal, and we're all here to say that we don't want it.
Tens of thousands turned out in similar protests in cities across the country. The biggest mass mobilization in years.
I'm very concerned for the future. I'm afraid that in the future the pension system will disappear.
On road, rail and in the air, the country's transport network felt the strain. A powerful message to the government, a nightmare for commuters.
I understand the strike, but us commuters are caught in the middle, and I don't know if that's the way to make us support the people on strike.
The union-led challenge to the reforms has been a long time coming. The government says it was prepared.
I said more than a month and a half ago that the strike on December the 5th would be strong, and this has been the case. The government is ready and has been in constant contact with the trade unions for the past few weeks.
But with
motorways and refineries blocked, there's only so much the government can do to prevent national paralysis. Schools and hospitals were also hit. Non-essential operations were cancelled and some staff obliged to bed down for the night. The country may face more of the same in the coming days. Neil O'Reilly, Euronews.
Well, protesters also bringing parts of the city of Lyon to a standstill. Our reporter Oliver Whitfield-Miocic followed the events as they unfolded.
Police here in Lyon had been prepared for the potential for violence to occur during this nationwide strike. And it did happen. We did see an infiltration of some anarchists into the mostly peaceful protest march that took place through the city here, attended by thousands of people, and that was retaliated by the police with firing of rounds of rubber bullets as well as tear gas. Now that's left protesters really unhappy because they were meant to end up in the area behind me, but as you can see, this bridge had been completely closed off. The police had then directed them to another area, and when they got to that area, they were then hit with more tear gas. So unionists who we've been speaking to have said that it's been a bit of a sour end to the day, that they wanted this to be a peaceful protest movement, much like it was in 1995 and 1968. But experts that have been speaking to Euronews say that it's changed now in France, that there is more of a violence that is happening in the country, especially with the protest movement. A protest movement which could now continue up until Christmas. The union saying that they want to ensure that these pension reforms are taken off the table, and it's something that the French government will certainly now be thinking hard about. President Macron wants to make this a cornerstone of his presidency by changing the pension system, eradicating the 42 different pension regimes and streamlining it into one single one, something that his predecessors have not been able to do. Will he be able to be successful, or will he have to ultimately back down and backtrack on his plans? Only time will tell, and that's the same for how long these protests could rumble on. Oliver Whitfield-Miocic, Euronews, Lyon, France.
Well, as you're seeing there from Ollie's reports, it's France's pension system, often seen by the world as quite generous, that is at the centre of some of these biggest grievances. So how exactly does this system compare to those of other European countries? Well, Guillaume Petit takes a look.
The pension reform is on everyone's minds. But on the European scale, how do the proposed French changes compare with other European neighbours? One of the main questions among the French is the legal age of retirement. It might remain at 62 years old, but the introduction of a pivotal age, which would give employees a full-rate pension, is part of the reform. The goal is to incite to work longer. In France, the average age of retirement is 60.8 years old, younger than Greece, Spain or Italy. France benefits from one of the highest replacement rates. Once retired, the French earn on average 3/4 of their previous income. This is 3 times more than British people who subscribe to private contracts instead to complete pension systems that are sometimes questioned as the population is getting older.
We're seeing an increase in life expectancy, a later start on the labour market, and a declining population throughout Europe. So in many European countries, the retirement age has been pushed back. And many Europeans say, you have one of the lowest retirement ages, so if we got there, why can't you?
The second point of tension is the merge of the 42 existing pension schemes, including 10 special schemes for railroad, electric companies and bank employees. But French neighbors don't have as many complications. In Belgium, there are 4 special schemes for miners, civil navigation personnel and journalists. Spain also has a few. In recent years, all the EU countries such as Greece have reformed their pension systems under pressure from their creditors. Guillaume Petit for Euronews.